The wake-up call was the bank, kind of tapped me on the shoulder and said, yeah, I know you make us a lot of money, but you know what? We still in control of your destiny. And the way they said it, the way they told me that was they started, I had about $25,000 coming in one of my bonus checks. And they made me jump through hoops to get that bonus money. And I said, you know what? This will never, ever happen again. Ever. And you know what I did? I dusted off my real estate stuff. I started focusing back on non-traditional. And literally, within a year, I stayed with the bank. But after I punched the clock at the end of the day and I was on my way home, I didn't go home. I was doing real estate deals on the side. And so now for literally within over that year, I was doing multiple non-traditional deals where I was picking up places, I was flipping them, wholesale flipping. Those weren't even terms back then. I made $300,000. $300,000 after, with all the deals that I did that year. I did about 12, 13 deals. I did just around $300,000. By the end of the year, I wrote my letter of resignation, signed it, said bye-bye, never look back.
Yo, plug me in. Plug me in to the STEM Plug podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the STEM Plug podcast. And it's Rich Nevada here, and I'm back to plug in again. And here on the STEM Plug podcast, we plug in with innovators, entrepreneurs, really focusing on science, technology, engineering, and math. Today, I have an amazing entrepreneur by the name of Coach Jim. And Coach Jim today is going to really fill us in on the field of just really investing, right? How can you manage your money? What should you be putting your money towards? And how he's really built an enterprise of over millions of dollars and how he teaches people to do the same. So here at STEM Plug, we thought that this would be a very important conversation, and we had to have Coach Jim on the podcast. So how's it going, bro?
Brother Rich Nevada, it's going amazing. It's going amazing. And so thanks for having me. And I'm excited to be able to share with your listeners, your viewers, as it relates to science, technology, and math. I'm a techie guy myself. I love science, I love tech, and I love math. And I think because of that, the way we do our business, it's a systems-oriented business that integrates those kinds of things that's allowed us to be so successful over the years. And it's allowed us to keep it really, really simple so that others that I've helped over the years, not just my kids who are all financially independent today by the grace of God because of this, but also the thousands of others throughout the world who want financial freedom and independence for their family, been able to keep it simple for them so that they can implement and just, again, science, get the same result. So, yeah.
You dropping gems on us already, man. Okay. So a question that I have, right? How has, you've been doing real estate for years. I've seen, everything that you've done in your portfolio that you've built. How has technology, changed your approach to real estate investing over the years?
Technology, as a real estate investor, you're right. I've been investing in real estate for over 30 years. And it's so funny because the way I started by ordering. I'm dating myself here, so it's funny. So I'm laughing because I'm thinking about what your listeners are going to be thinking. But I back in the day when I got my first real estate investment course, it was a Carlton Sheets course where I ordered, it was cassette tapes and some manuals. You order them, and that's how you learned, right? And that was 32, 33 years ago when I ordered that stuff. So some of y'all may know what I'm talking about. Some of y'all might be like who is this dude? He's ancient. but really, listen, back when I got that stuff, man, I opened it And I was listening to it every day. I was reading it every day, and I was studying it like it was the gospel. And I learned it, and I learned it, and I learned it. And then I went out and I implemented exactly what he was teaching for the most part. And eventually it worked for me. Eventually. It didn't work immediately, but I just had to keep going. Now today, what's different? Well, the things apply, the things that have allowed me to have success today, the same way I teach it and the same way I've learned it from many people, the same core things apply, which is if you have someone that you like, that you trust, that really understands what they're like, and they've had success, then if they truly show you exactly what they've done, then again, the science of it is, as long as you just follow the steps, you should get similar results. And so now today, the only difference is what? A lot of the stuff you're learning via the way we teach it today is, like we're not sending stuff out. Like people right on Zooms, we're teaching stuff. We have modules inside of platforms that are online. So it's come a long way as far as how you distribute the information when it comes to like actually implementation today with Airbnb is a lot different than it was when I was doing, and that was really part of your question. Like the core of your question was, how is it different? So the way I learned was different. The way I implemented also was also different because I was running around, driving around, looking at properties, talking to landlords on phones and talking to owners on phones. Today, like, bro, I don't know when the last time, no, I gotta be honest. Up until like last week, like I can't tell you when the last time I've gone to a place and looked at a place. Like typically the stuff is I'm just texting or messaging or doing something online and locking in properties. So we got like just over the last 30 days, 45 days, I've picked up like 50 listings throughout the country in San Antonio, different parts of Florida, New York, and I'm here in Florida, and I haven't been to any except one that was literally 10 minutes away from my house, and I wanted to check it out with my son. So other than that, like so the technology has changed significantly where you don't necessarily have to be running around doing this stuff. If you got a phone and a computer, and your group, like your listeners, they got a brain, so they know math, they know science, they know technology. If they got that and they have desire and they have someone that's willing to show them how it's actually done, then all they got to do is just model it. And again, they will get the same results because that's the science of it. That's what I love about this stuff.
Okay.
Hopefully
and Coach Jim is the person to show him, right? Coach Jim is the person to show him all this. So I appreciate you you plugging in with us, right? So okay, so what do you say are like the key trends you really see shaping how real estate is today? What are the key trends on that?
Key trends for real estate, some of this stuff is you got people that are buying and flipping. You got people that are, I mean, the traditional. Let's just talk about the traditional, because some of the stuff that's called traditional today, when I was doing it, wasn't traditional. It didn't even really exist. But you got buying and selling, so flipping. You got buying and rehabbing, right? You have just traditional rentals, just buying and holding, and then you have wholesaling. Like those are really like the core things. Now, and I'm mainly just talking about residential. However, a lot of that stuff also applies to commercial. Now, that's the core. That's what you find probably if you talk to somebody about doing real estate, that's mainly all the things that they're talking about. And if you're doing that stuff, like you won't see me doing any of those things today. However, I've made millions of dollars doing all of that. Right? Why don't I do those things today? Well, just like you asked the question earlier, like how has the trends, like how has it changed? Well, to me, these are the slow ways of doing things now. This is a slow way of gaining financial independence and building generational wealth. like those 4 methods. And it's what most people do, which is one of the reasons why it's a slow way. It's like if you're doing that stuff, it's almost like you're following the crowd. And for me, like the way we've had so much success is not following the crowd, right? And so what are the things that are different? Like why don't I do them, and what am I doing? So today, like my whole portfolio is Airbnb is passive income. It's Airbnb passive income with, here's the key, Rich, it's without owning property. So Rich Innovated, it's without owning property. So at one point I had over 250 units in my portfolio. I was a landlord doing all kinds of stuff, right? And my last order of business 2 years ago, before I left New York to come to Florida, was to make sure I got rid of all my traditional real estate that was in my portfolio. No more tenants, no more landlording. I kept all my Airbnbs out there, but anything that was related to traditional, then I got rid of them all. And so everything that we have, like the hundreds of listings that we have in our portfolio throughout the country, they're all Airbnb, and I don't own any of them. We lease them all.
Wow.
Now, I know you might be thinking to yourself, well, okay, like what's the difference? Like why do you do it that way compared to the other traditional methods that most people teach? Well, as I said, I've made millions of dollars doing those other 4 things, like the buying and selling, the buying and holding, the buying and flipping, the wholesaling. I made millions of dollars doing that stuff. And when I was doing it, it was great. Well, part of the reason it was great is because there weren't many people doing it, so many people doing it when I was doing it. And as I, and it ain't like I was just brilliant. I'm not going to take credit for that. I just kind of stumbled upon it because like when I first got started, it wasn't like I wanted to do real estate. I got a call from my mom. I was away at college, and my mom calls me one morning on a Saturday morning and told me she was dying. And I'm the oldest of 4 siblings. I was a couple hundred miles away at University of Buffalo, trying to do something different, trying to change my generational cycles, because we grew up in poverty and, single parent household, got 2 siblings at home. And now, like, I'm hearing this and like my whole world just flipped upside down. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, now I gotta, like, if mom passes, I gotta take care of my siblings. And so, like, I wasn't a great student at college. I was, I'm like, I got to get serious about life real fast. And so, again, I don't believe there's any coincidence when it comes to him, but I'm going to say, like, by chance, at that time, that's how I thought, by chance, like this Carlton Sheets, I was watching it on an infomercial, and it came up, and I was like, you know what? If I did that, at least I could have a roof over our heads. I could have a roof over my head with my sibling, right? And my siblings, my two younger siblings. And that's really where my mindset was. And but remember, I was a student. I left school. It was my 4th year of college. I left school because I had to get serious about life, as I said. I didn't have any money, had no credit, had no job, had no experience. So I couldn't follow the crowd. The crowd was doing what? Well, you got to go to a bank, go get a realtor, go to a bank, make sure you got a job, go to a bank, borrow some money, get a rental. Like, I couldn't do any of that stuff. I had no job, I had no credit, I had no experience, I had no money. So he was teaching how to buy property, how to buy properties, no money down. I'm like, okay, that's me. And so I was kind of thrusted into that, and I had to learn traditional methods that would work for someone who couldn't go traditional, right? And so what I learned by doing that, though, it took me, like, it didn't happen overnight. Like, the stuff I learned, as I said, I was reading and doing this stuff every day, learning it, like again, like it was my gospel then. And then as I started implementing, yeah. But then I started implementing. It wasn't just about learning. It's like, okay, we got to do something now. Right? So then as I started implementing, and here I go, like I'm making offers to people. I'm calling people on the phone, going around looking at places. And I got no, 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 no. Like across the board, I was getting no. I mean, think about it. I'm young. I don't look the part. I ain't got no money, got no experience, and I ain't got no credit, I ain't got no job. Like everything was going against me, except the one thing that was going against me, my why. My why was too big for me to stop just because I got a no. Right? So I continued to go, and then it literally took me a year to get my first yes. And then, like, after I got my first yes, I realized by that time that I could do this not just to put a roof over my head, but I could do this to change, again, the future of myself and my family forever, where I will never have to live in poverty again, possibly. Right? That was my mindset. So now, like, but I also realized that, wow, like, okay, I made a mistake. So I made a mistake, Rich, that it took me 9 years to recover from that mistake. And the mistake was I started going traditional. Because I thought the only reason I went this non-traditional method was because I didn't have money, I didn't have experience, I didn't have credit, I didn't have a job. But I said, well, now that I got my first piece of property, why don't I go traditional? This is how everybody else is doing it. And if I would have stayed on the same path, within 3 to 4 years, I would have been financially independent and making hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. But what did I do? I went, I got a job, I got a realtor, I went and got a loan, and I bought an investment property, a rental, that now I had all this mortgage, and by the time I paid the mortgage from the rents, I only had a couple $100 left over. That first one, though, the first one that I got without doing that, where I had a landlord, a owner who held a mortgage for me, within a year or so, year and a half, I refinanced that place. I took $20-something thousand out of that place and refied it, paid him off. After paying him off, I put $20,000 in my pocket, and then I was able to, that's part of how I started going traditional. If I would have just, so again, I realized, and then I just did it again and did it again. After 9 years of working with the bank, because I had to go get a job. So I said, if I'm going to get a job, I might as well get a job doing something that that's going to help me later on in life build my business. So I got a job in banking. And then I eventually rose through the ranks from teller, eventually became a bank vice president. And 9 years later, I'm looking up and I'm going, like, I got multiple places, but if I were to leave my job, like, those places couldn't support my lifestyle because I was doing it the traditional way. I'm so grateful. And this is something that everybody should really listen to. Listen to this part. Just listen to this part, because I got a wake-up call. And that wake-up call, many people would look at that wake-up call as, oh man, like it's a bad thing. Well, what was the wake-up call? The wake-up call was, I mean, at that time, as I said, I was a bank vice president. I was a commercial lender, and like was making low six figures. And the wake-up call was, the bank, kind of tapped me on the shoulder and said, yeah, I know you make us a lot of money, but you know what? We still in control of your destiny. And the way they said it, the way they told me that was, they started, like, I had about $25,000 coming in one of my bonus checks. And they made me jump through hoops to get that bonus money. And I said, you know what? This will never, ever happen again. Ever. And you know what I did? I dusted off my real estate stuff. I started focusing back on non-traditional. And literally, like, within a year, I stayed with the bank. But after I punched the clock at the end of the day, and I was on my way home, I didn't go home. I was doing real estate deals on the side. And so now, for literally Like within the over that year, I was doing multiple non-traditional deals where I was picking up places, I was flipping them, wholesale flipping. Those weren't even terms back then. I made $300,000. $300,000 after, like with all the deals that I did that year, I did about 12 deals, 12, 13 deals. I did just around $300,000. By the end of the year, I wrote my letter of resignation, signed it, said bye-bye, never look back. And so I say all that to say, again, to answer your earlier question, like what's the change? Why the difference? Well, what I learned was the non-traditional, if I would have tried to go traditional to do that, it would have taken me another 20 years. Well, it took me literally 1 year to triple my revenue. And then literally after I signed my letter of resignation, within 2 years, I was making over $1 million a year in my real estate business. And so, so traditional versus non-traditional, and then Airbnb today. Airbnb today is another form of non-traditional, where most people are not doing the way we do it and the way I've done it and the way all of our students do it. But
no, you provided a lot of value to us, and we really appreciate it. So we love the value exchange, and then we can kind of go more into your coaching now, right? So tell us more about your coaching and your classes that you provide that can actually help our listeners or people out here listening to really now do the same things that you have done.
Yeah, so coaching was something that happened, and I love doing it. Like I love doing this stuff because it's my way of really making a difference in the lives of people who otherwise wouldn't know that this stuff is possible. And they have the same heart that I have when it comes to their family. Like my number one, our first ministry is our family. Right? That's our first ministry. And from a coaching perspective, on the other side, why do I do it? On the other side, the reason why I do it is because it's something that regardless of where you are in the world, you could reach people all over the world, and it doesn't matter geographically where you are. And so again, technology and science, right? So technology and science, like I'm in Florida now, but just last week we had our Family Financial Freedom Challenge where I spent 4 days with people from all over the world that had all kinds of different backgrounds that were here because they had a desire to build legacy and generational wealth using the methods that we use with Airbnb. And I got an opportunity. I had the privilege of being able to spend that time to change people's lives during those 4 days. And so I love, like I'm a techie. Like I love this stuff. You should see my office, the way it's set up. Like I got screens and all kinds of, like I love this stuff, man. But the reason why I love it is because it really takes the limits off of what the possibilities are. Right? And so with coaching, that's the one thing, like if there's anyone out there who has a thing that they really, a gift that they're passionate about, a gift that God's blessed them with, that the thing that they may be doing, and they're reaching maybe people in their local area. Like from a coaching perspective, I'm going to tell you, like if you were to take the thing that you do and you have the right platform, like if you follow the right coaching model, you could make 10 to 20 times, that's the industry standard, 10 to 20 times what you're making doing it yourself. And so with Airbnb, like as I started doing Airbnb, after about a year or so, I had so many people asking me, could you help me? Could you help me? That seems so cool. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I love helping people, but I didn't have anything formal in place. Like I love the technology, so I know it's possible. I know that there's other people out there doing it. Can I do it too? And it also checks off the box. What box? The box of me not wanting to be tied, geographically to any one particular area. My wife was having a conversation about going to Spain for a year before COVID and just living there for a year. I'm like, would you really like to do that? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, let's plan on it. And that was a plan. So now coaching really became something that made a lot of sense. And so when I tell you you can make 10 times, like my first year doing Airbnb, all I made was $45,000 my first year. The second year, I made $144,000. That was in 2019. The third year, COVID hit, and all I made was $145,000. Now, let's back up. After the first year of doing Airbnb, somewhat into into year two, halfway into year two, everybody was asking me, can you help me? Can you help me? I'm interested. So I started coaching. That first year I started coaching, all I made was $30,000. Here we go, though. Rich and Innovative. Year two, I made $230,000. And
Come on.
and that was only, the first $30,000 was 6 months, only 6 months. The second year I did 230-something thousand. You want to know what I made year three?
What you made?
$1.3 million.
Wow. That's a huge jump.
Year three in Airbnb, I was only at 145,000. That was COVID year. The year after that was my year three with coaching. I made 1.3, and I had only done 270,000 with Airbnb. So I did 270 with Airbnb, 1.3 million with coaching. So now my Airbnb business was rounded out, though. Now, I do have a disclaimer, though. Let me give you a disclaimer. Like that 270, the 270 could have been more, but once I started coaching, my focus wasn't about growing my portfolio anymore. My focus was on making sure my students were growing their portfolios and helping them. So it could have been a lot more, but the focus really shifted. But even if I did, like I would have, like to get to 1.3 million with my Airbnb income, it would have been so many more moving parts than it was with the coaching side.
How can listeners really, sign up for your program so they can learn more about Airbnb? Can you plug that in for us? How can they sign up for this program? Where can they go to?
I'll tell you this. Like for me, I don't know if you know this or not, Rich Innovative, but my academy is invitation only. Right. So, and that's always been from the beginning. So I've always had the privilege of being able to hand select all my students. And the reason why is because, like, I need to know, first of all, if I can help them. Right. If I can help them, then like that's first and foremost. But then second, the other piece is I'd like to understand what this is about for them. Like why.
Okay.
And let me tell you why. Like, I told you my story, like how I got started with real estate. I got that call from my mom. And I also told you how long it took me to get my first yes, right? But the reason why I was able to hang in there for a year after getting no after no after no after no after no was because of what? My why. If it was just about a side hustle for me, I would have been done after about a month and a half of getting those no's, because most people can't take that kind of rejection for so long. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that you're not, like my students get immediate results when it comes to Airbnb when they follow my simple steps. They get like literally within the first 24 hours, they'll have landlords and owners in their areas reaching out to them, inviting them out to take a look at their places. Like I help my Wealth BNB students build their $1 million portfolios in 3 to 6 months. So like that happens. However, if they're here just to make a few bucks, then it's not even worth my time. Like the reason why I do what I do is about changing lives and changing generational cycles and building generational wealth. And if people are here for something different, it's okay. Like I'm not judging. I'll give you a few tips, but I don't spend the kind of time that I'm taking away from family, taking away from other things that are, my ability to be a blessing to the church and the community, like taking away from those things just to help somebody make a few bucks. Like I don't
So do you
need
have
to do
a
that.
application process?
So there is, but here's the thing. What I can tell you is there is a way for you at least to start the process. And the way you would start it is just join me for 4 days. 4 days on my Family Financial Freedom Challenge. During those 4 days, what they're going to do is they're going to have the ability to, whether they're advanced and they already know how to do some of this stuff, or if they're advanced and they know how to do real estate, or they're basic and beginners and haven't done anything yet, they're going to be, I'm going to take them through some steps that they're going to implement every day to get results every day, and then we're going to build on that so that by the end of the week, they're going to be able to just build, take it and run with it, right? And just continue to get the results, because they're going to know how the stuff works, and they're going to all 4 days they're going to be asking me questions, and I'm going to be showing them, pulling back the curtains. Now, the other part of that, though, is as they're getting results and they're implementing, I'm also going to be checking them out, because there's a lot of people that come and they become good candidates for my academies, my upper level, my VIP programs, and my inner circle. And if they're a great candidate, then I'm going to give them an invitation. Once I give them that invitation, if it's a great fit for both of us, then I'll allow them into one of those programs. And so that's how that works. But the first step is by going to familyfinancialfreedomchallenge.com, and that will allow them, first of all, to just get on my calendar and meet with me for 15 minutes, so we could chat and I can give them the invitation into my next challenge.
Okay, now that's nice. So I got a question for you, Coach Jim. So here on the STEM Plug podcast, we like to do something that we like to call the plug of the day, right? I'm gonna give you a rapid fire question, and I just want you to kind of give me an answer, okay? So my question for you is, what is the number one skill needed for building wealth?
Number one skill for building wealth, I would say, is vision.
Okay.
Now, I don't know, like, if you just wanted an answer, like, that's it, vision.
You can break it down.
All right. Well, I'll break it down and keep it simple. I'll keep it simple. So vision, you first, when it comes to vision, the Word of God tells us without vision, the people will perish. And God's given us gifts. He's given us the ability to see. He created us in his own image as creators. And he said, the first thing he said to us in Genesis 26, he says, be fruitful and multiply. He says, fill the earth and subdue it, and then have dominion over all these things that I created on day 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, before I created you on day 6. He said, but in order to be creative, when he created, the first thing he said about himself was what? In Genesis 1, first sentence, in the beginning, God, what? Created. Right? He created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and it was darkness that covered the face of the deep. And then, what did he say? First thing he started to do was what? He spoke. Then God said, let there be light. So, God had vision. He created us in his own image as creators. He showed us that in order to fill the earth and subdue it, in order to be fruitful and multiply, we have to have vision. You got to see it. We got to see it. And if we could see it, then we could seize it. If we can't see it, it's going to be hard to seize it. It's going to be almost impossible. So you need vision. That's my answer.
I see the vision. I appreciate it.
Think about it. Like, how long STEM Plug? Like, what was the vision behind STEM Plug? Like, it didn't just happen, did it? Like, did you have to have vision for that?
Oh yeah, it was definitely vision. STEM Plug kind of came about from, I'm a lifetime learner. I love learning from people. I love learning different things about science, technology, engineering, and math. So I just wanted to take my idea of already learning from other people and now putting it on a platform and sharing my knowledge. My background is in STEM. My background is in science and engineering. So I took my background of, being in STEM and now communicating it and just making it fun. So yeah, that was the vision that I kind of had when things kind of all came about.
So
Yeah.
so this stuff didn't just happen, right? It wasn't some
Oh, nah.
explosion of just events. Like you had to have vision to see it, and then you work through it, right?
Yeah, nah,
Yeah.
for sure. That's definitely that's definitely a gem. I know you shared about your how people can sign up for your the different classes, but do you have any other social medias, your personal social medias you want to share where our listeners can maybe see some of your content that you post or anything?
Yeah, across the board, whether you go to YouTube or whether you go to Instagram or Facebook, you go to Jim G Coaching Club, and you'll find us there. So Jim G Coaching Club, or you go to jimgcoachingclub.com. So YouTube, Jim G Coaching Club, Instagram, Jim G Coaching Club, Facebook, Jim G Coaching Club. You'll find us there, and or jimgcoachingclub.com, and that's where you'll see. You'll be able to YouTube is a great platform because I got a lot of free stuff on there where you could just you could get some real gems from there and then see, a lot of people I get, they binging, next thing I know they jumping on and say, I just watched 20 hours of your content. Like I just had to meet, and I'm like that like it's great because it helps me to know that the time that we put in, the energy that we put in, the heart that we have for the people that we're called to serve is appreciated, and it's actually useful. And so if there's anyone listening, head over to the YouTube channel, go to Instagram and or Facebook, and you should be able to find us. If you go to YouTube, make sure you subscribe and make sure you comment, because when you comment, then I love to interact on your comments but I'm looking forward to seeing you if you jump on one of my lives. If you go to familyfinancialfreedomchallenge.com, then you're going to be able to jump right on my calendar, or just Live with Jim. There you go, livewithjim.com. And then you jump right on my calendar, and I get a chance to meet you for 15 minutes and see how I can help you. And if I can, then I'll give you an invitation into the challenge, and we can hang out for a week and get you some results.
That's dope. Wow, Coach Jim, I appreciate you plugging in everything with our listeners just on the field of real estate and Airbnb, really just sharing your knowledge. I'm very thankful, and I'm sure our listeners are going to feel the same. So this is another episode of the STEM Plug Podcast. Make sure that you plug in with Coach Jim. Make sure you catch all those gems that he's been dropping, and make sure you stay tuned and stay plugged into the STEM Plug Podcast. Make sure you subscribe and like and stay plugged in.